I told my husband I wasn't ready for a baby. He kissed my forehead and said, "We have time." Then I got sick, saw 2 lines, and found the pouch that explained everything. So I packed my life while he. Every night at exactly 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was never dramatic. Just one short vibration against the wood. A sound so ordinary that after years of hearing it, my hand moved before I even looked at the screen. Take it. That was all the reminder said. I reached into the drawer beside the bed, pulled out the small foil pack, pressed one pill free, and swallowed it with the last sip of water in my glass. My husband, Ryan, sat across the room with his laptop open. He handled investments for a living, and even at night, he looked like a man preparing for the market to collapse before breakfast. Charts glowed on his screen. Numbers reflected in his glasses. His whole life revolved around risk, timing, and control. He didn't look up when my alarm went off. "You got it?" he asked. "Always," I said. He nodded once. "Good. Consistency matters." At the time, I thought it was just Ryan being Ryan. That was how he talked about everything. Bills, appointments, groceries, marriage. If life could be tracked, scheduled, or controlled, Ryan felt safe inside it. For a long time, I mistook that for stability. Before we got married, I was honest with him about children. I didn't hint. I didn't soften it to sound more romantic. I told him clearly that I was not ready. I had spent years building my career at a law firm. I was finally getting real opportunities, and I knew what motherhood would mean if it happened before I was prepared. I told Ryan I needed time. Maybe years. Maybe longer. Maybe I would change my mind one day, but I needed that choice to stay mine. Ryan reached across the small coffee shop table and took my hand. "I love that about you," he said. "You know what you want." I remember waiting for disappointment. Pressure. A hidden argument. But he smiled like he understood. "We have time," he said. "I'm not marrying you because I want to change you." That sentence stayed with me. I repeated it whenever his mother, Karen, made little comments about grandchildren. I repeated it when friends started posting baby announcements and Ryan lingered too long on the pictures. I repeated it when he joked about turning the spare room into a nursery someday. Someday still felt far away. Our marriage looked good from the outside. We were busy, ambitious, and exhausted in the way people pretend is impressive. We split bills. We shared responsibilities. We had a golden retriever named Buddy who believed every blanket in the house belonged to him. Most nights, Ryan and I were too tired to argue. That made the peace feel real. Looking back, I think it was not peace. It was silence. The first time I got sick, I blamed work. I woke up before my alarm with my stomach twisting and the room tilting. I made it to the bathroom just in time, then stayed on the cold tile with one hand pressed to the cabinet, breathing slowly until the nausea eased. Stress, I told myself. Too little sleep. Too much coffee. Too many nights pretending takeout and panic counted as fuel. Ryan appeared in the doorway wearing running clothes, already tying his shoes. "You okay?" he asked. "Just nauseous." He frowned, but not enough to come closer. "You've been pushing too hard," he said. "You can't keep doing this forever." "I know." He watched me for another second. "Maybe your body is trying to tell you something." I was too tired to care about the tone. By the third morning, the smell of coffee made me grip the kitchen counter. That scared me more than the nausea. Coffee was the one thing my body never rejected. Ryan set his mug down. "You're pale." "I'm fine." "You're not fine." He stepped closer, softer than usual. "Maybe you should take a day off." "I can't." "You can," he said. "You choose not to." The words irritated me, but I didn't have the strength to defend my job, my schedule, and my choices before 8 in the morning. That weekend, I checked my calendar. Then I checked it again. 4 days late. I stood in the hallway with my phone in my hand, staring at the dates like they might rearrange themselves if I waited long enough. They didn't. I drove to the pharmacy alone. The whole trip felt unreal. I walked past shampoo, toothpaste, greeting cards, and snacks, then stopped in front of the pregnancy tests with my heart pounding. I almost left without buying one. That was how impossible it felt. I had never missed my alarm. Not while traveling. Not while sick. Not after long dinners. Not after nights when I could barely keep my eyes open. That routine had become part of me. Still, I bought the test. I took it in the guest bathroom because Ryan rarely went in there. I set it face down on the counter and watched the timer on my phone count down 3 minutes. When I turned it over, my hand went cold. 2 lines. Dark. Clear. Immediate. For a few seconds, I didn't move. I stared at the test and waited for a feeling simple enough to name. What came instead was confusion. Not the kind you feel when life surprises you. The kind you feel when something has gone wrong in a way that should not be possible. The front door opened downstairs. Ryan was home from his run. I wrapped the test in tissue, shoved it into my sweatshirt pocket, and rinsed my hands even though they were clean. In the mirror, my face looked empty. When I walked into the kitchen, Ryan was by the sink, filling a glass of water. He looked relaxed, flushed from exercise, completely unaware that my life had just cracked open in the guest bathroom. Then he saw my face. What happened? I tried to speak, but my voice caught. Lisa? I pulled the test from my pocket and placed it on the kitchen island between us. I'm pregnant, I said. I expected him to freeze. I expected panic, disbelief, questions. I expected him to ask how, because that was the only question screaming through my head. Ryan looked down at the test. Then he smiled. Not a stunned smile. Not a nervous smile. A slow, relieved smile. He walked around the island and pulled me into his arms. Maybe this is a sign, he whispered. I stood there stiffly, my hands at my sides. A sign? I asked. He kissed the top of my head. Maybe it's time to stop fighting so hard. You've been exhausted for years. Maybe this is life giving you permission to slow down. I pulled back enough to see his face. Ryan, this wasn't the plan. I know. You know how careful I've been. I know, he said again, too calmly. But sometimes things happen for a reason. The kitchen suddenly felt too small. He touched my cheek like he was comforting me, but his eyes were bright in a way that made my skin crawl. I can take care of us, he said. You don't have to keep proving yourself to everyone. I looked at the test on the counter. For the first time since I had met him, Ryan didn't feel like my husband. He felt like someone waiting for a door to lock behind me. For the next 3 days, I tried to explain it to myself. I checked the dates on my medication packs. I searched every possible reason something like this could happen. Stress. Timing. A stomach bug. Some random interaction I hadn't thought about. Nothing made sense. Ryan became gentle in a way that felt rehearsed. He brought me tea. He told me to rest. He suggested I ask for fewer hours at work before I had even processed what was happening. Every time I said I wasn't ready to talk about that, he looked wounded. I'm not trying to control you, he said one night. We were in bed, though neither of us was sleeping. Buddy was curled near our feet, his head resting on Ryan's ankle. I didn't say you were. You're acting like I planned this. I turned toward him. I didn't say that either. Ryan stared at the ceiling. You keep looking at me like I did something wrong. His voice was quiet, but the words landed heavily. I wanted to say, because you didn't look surprised. Instead, I said, I'm scared. He reached for my hand. I let him take it because part of me still wanted comfort from him, even while another part warned me not to trust it. I know, he said. But fear doesn't mean this is bad. It changes everything. Maybe some things need to change. There it was again. That calm certainty. The next morning, Karen called. I hadn't told her anything. Ryan had. Sweetheart, she said, sounding breathless with excitement, I heard the news. My stomach dropped. What news? Oh, don't be like that. Ryan told me. I know it's early, but I'm just so happy. This family needed something beautiful. I closed my office door and lowered my voice. Ryan shouldn't have told you. There was a pause. Well, he's excited. That doesn't make it okay. Karen sighed, and the warmth in her voice thinned. I understand career women like to keep everything controlled, but motherhood doesn't run on your office calendar. I gripped the phone. I have to go. Lisa, wait. I'm only saying this because I care. A baby could soften you. You've always seemed so tense. I hung up. For the rest of the day, I moved through meetings like I was underwater. People spoke. I nodded. I wrote notes that made no sense when I read them back. At lunch, Amy found me sitting alone in a conference room with the lights off. She pushed the door open slowly. Are you hiding or having a breakdown? Both. Amy stepped inside and closed the door behind her. We weren't movie version best friends. We didn't spend every weekend together or share every secret. But she was one of the few people at work who noticed when I stopped acting like myself. She sat across from me. What happened? I almost lied. Then I didn't. I'm pregnant. Her face softened. Oh, it wasn't planned. Okay. I was careful. Amy waited. I mean really careful, I said. And Ryan is acting like this is exactly what was supposed to happen. That changed her expression. How's he acting? I told her about the smile, the comments, Karen's phone call, and the way Ryan kept talking about me slowing down before I had even processed the test. Amy listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back and said, I don't want to scare you, but you need to document everything. My throat tightened. Document what? His messages. His comments. Anything that feels off. You think I'm being paranoid? No, Amy said. I think you're trying very hard not to be. That sentence stayed with me all the way home. That evening, Ryan made dinner. He almost never cooked, but that night he had pasta on the stove and salad on the counter, like he was auditioning for a version of our marriage that did not exist. You didn't have to do all this, I said. I wanted to. He watched me sit. I also looked into some options today, he added. Just in case you decide to take extended leave. My fork paused above the plate. Why would you do that? To be prepared. I didn't ask you to prepare for that. I'm your husband. That doesn't mean you make plans behind my back. Ryan's jaw tightened. I was trying to help. No. Helping would be asking what I need. He looked down, then gave a small laugh with no humor in it. Most women would be relieved to have a husband willing to provide. I stared at him. Most women. You know what I mean. I don't think I do. He rubbed his forehead. You're turning this into a fight because you're afraid. Maybe I'm afraid because you keep talking like my life is already decided. His eyes hardened for 1 second before the softness returned. I just want what's best for our family. Our family, I repeated. He reached across the table, but I moved my hand before he could touch it. Later that night, I lay awake long after Ryan fell asleep. Amy's voice kept coming back to me. Document everything. The discovery happened because of Thai food. That's the detail that still bothers me. Not a dramatic confession. Not a hidden message. Just dinner on a rainy evening. Ryan ordered from the Thai place we both liked, then went upstairs to shower after a workout. I was in the living room when he called down. Can you grab my wallet from my bag? I left my card in there. Where is it? Bedroom. By the bench. The delivery app said the driver was close, so I hurried upstairs. Ryan's gym bag sat where he said it would be, half unzipped, a damp towel sticking out from the top. I opened the main pocket and pushed aside his clothes. No wallet. I checked the side pocket. Nothing. From the bathroom, I could hear the shower running. I was about to call out that I couldn't find it when my fingers brushed something stiff beneath the towel. A small black pouch. At first, I thought it was earbuds or a charging kit. Ryan loved little bags, little cases, little systems inside bigger systems. I unzipped it. Inside were a small tool, tweezers, damaged medication sleeves, and a clear bag filled with tiny white tablets. For a second, my brain refused to connect the objects. Then I saw the label on the empty sleeves. My medication. Same brand. Same packaging. Same tiny print I had stared at for years without really seeing it. My mouth went dry. I pulled one of the sleeves out and held it under the lamp. It looked wrong. Not opened the way I opened mine. Not damaged by accident. Handled. The shower kept running. I set the pouch down on the bed like it might burn me. My hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to open my phone camera. Then I remembered Amy's warning and forced myself to slow down. I took photos of everything. The pouch. The tools. The empty sleeves. The clear bag. The label. The inside of Ryan's gym bag showing where it had been hidden. Then I noticed an old tablet tucked flat into the back pocket of the bag. I recognized it as one Ryan used years ago and forgot in drawers whenever he upgraded devices. The screen lit when I touched it. No passcode. A calendar app was open. At first, I thought it was his workout schedule. Then I saw the color-coded entries. Dates. Notes. My cycle. My symptoms. Predicted windows. Short phrases written in Ryan's neat, emotionless style. Check drawer. Changed pack. Window begins. Do not travel. I stopped breathing normally. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't my body failing me. Ryan had been tracking me, planning around me, and using the trust of our marriage as access. The bathroom water turned off. The silence after the shower was worse than the noise. Lisa? Ryan called. Did you find it? For 1 second, I imagined walking into that bathroom with the pouch in my hands. I imagined demanding answers. I imagined watching his face change when he realized I knew. Then I thought of the way he had smiled at the pregnancy test. I thought of the way he had already told his mother. If I confronted him, he would deny it. He would take the evidence. He would say I misunderstood. He would cry, rage, or turn it into a story where I was unstable. I needed proof more than I needed an argument. Yeah, I called back, forcing my voice to stay normal. Found it. I photographed the tablet screen from several angles. Then I put everything back exactly where I found it. The pouch under the towel. The tablet flat in the pocket. The zipper halfway closed. I found his wallet in another compartment and took it downstairs. The delivery driver stood on the porch with the food bag held under his jacket. "Rough weather," he said. "Yeah," I said, handing over the card. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. By the time Ryan came downstairs in clean clothes, I had set the food on plates. I had even poured water. I don't remember deciding to do that. He smiled when he saw the table. "See? We're okay." I sat across from him while the proof of what he had done rested upstairs in his bag. Ryan talked about his day. Something about a difficult client. Something about market anxiety. Something about people making emotional decisions when they should think long-term. I almost laughed. Instead, I nodded. After dinner, I told him I was tired and went upstairs first. In the bathroom, with the fan on, I sent every photo to a private email account Ryan didn't know about. Then I sent copies to Amy with one message. "Please do not call me. Just save these." Her reply came 4 minutes later. "I have them. Are you safe tonight?" I looked at the bedroom door. Ryan was downstairs locking up. I typed back. "For now." That night, I lay beside him without sleeping. The house made its usual sounds. Pipes ticking. Rain easing off the roof. Buddy snoring softly on the rug. Ryan slept peacefully beside me. I felt fear, but underneath it was something colder. A decision. I waited until Ryan left for work. The second his car backed out of the driveway, I moved. I did not pack like someone starting over beautifully. I packed like someone escaping a fire. Clothes. Documents. Medication. Laptop. Chargers. A few pieces of jewelry that belonged to my grandmother. Buddy's leash, food, and favorite blanket. I left the furniture. I left the framed photos on the wall because I could not stand to touch them. Before I walked out, I went back into the bedroom and photographed Ryan's bag again. The pouch was still there. The tablet was still there. I did not take them. Amy had already given me the number of a lawyer named Laura, and Laura's first instruction during our brief call had been clear. Preserve evidence, but don't create a fight over property before we know what we're dealing with. So I photographed everything again and left it where it was. By noon, Buddy and I were in a small hotel room across town. He paced in confused circles, sniffing every corner, then climbed onto the bed and pressed his body against my leg. I sat beside him with my phone in my hand. My message to Ryan took almost 20 minutes to write because every version sounded too emotional or too weak. Finally, I sent one photo. The black pouch open on our bed. Below it, I wrote, "I know what you did. I am safe. Do not contact me directly. My lawyer will reach out." Then I blocked him. For 26 minutes, nothing happened. Then my email started lighting up. Ryan couldn't text me, so he used every other channel he had. "Lisa, please answer me. You're misunderstanding what you found. This is not something to involve lawyers in. You're scared. I get it. We can fix this. You're carrying our family. Do not let outsiders poison you against your husband." The messages came faster as the hour passed. At first, he sounded panicked. Then defensive. Then insulted. By late afternoon, he stopped pretending he hadn't done it. "I only wanted us to have a real chance. You kept delaying our life. I thought once it happened, you would understand." I stared at that line for a long time. Once it happened. As if I were a locked door and he had found the key. I saved every message. Then Karen called from a number I didn't recognize. I made the mistake of answering because I thought it might be the hotel desk. Her voice came through sharp and controlled. "What have you done?" I closed my eyes. "Karen, I'm not discussing this with you. You ran out of your home like a thief. I left because I was not safe there. Don't be dramatic." The calmness in her voice made my stomach turn more than shouting would have. "My son loves you," she said. "He made a terrible choice because he was desperate to save the future you kept postponing. That is not love. You are married. Marriage is not just about what you want." "No," I said. "And it is not permission to violate me." She went quiet for half a second. Then she said, "A good wife would think about the family before her pride." I hung up. The next call came from my father, Mark. I almost didn't answer. But part of me wanted one person in my family to say the obvious thing without making me beg for it. His voice was gentle. "Lisa." I pressed the phone closer to my ear. "Dad." I talked to Ryan. My chest tightened. "Why?" He called me. He was hysterical. "Did he tell you what he did?" There was a pause. "He told me enough." "Enough. I know it's bad." I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "Bad? Sweetheart, listen to me. I am angry. I am. What he did was wrong. Deeply wrong. I waited. But, he said. That one word broke something in me. But what? You're married. You have a life together. I'm not saying go back today. I'm saying don't make permanent decisions while you're in shock. Dad, he tampered with my medication. I know. He tracked my body without telling me. I know. He tried to force a future I said no to. I know, he said, his voice cracking. I'm just asking you to slow down. I stood up so fast Buddy lifted his head. Everyone keeps asking me to slow down. Ryan had months to plan. But I'm supposed to slow down because my reaction makes people uncomfortable. That's not fair. No. What happened to me wasn't fair. My father exhaled shakily. Please don't shut me out. I'm not shutting you out, I said. I'm refusing to be talked into making his choices easier to live with. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed until the room got dark. I had always thought betrayal would feel loud. It didn't. It felt like realizing that everyone around you wanted a softer version of the truth because the real one required them to take a side. That night, I turned off my 9 o'clock alarm. My thumb hovered over the screen before I confirmed it. For years, that alarm had felt like control. Now it felt like evidence. The next morning, I met Laura in a quiet office with frosted glass walls and a box of tissues placed carefully at the edge of her desk. I hated the tissues. Not because I didn't need them, but because they made me feel like I was expected to fall apart. Laura was calm without being cold. She reviewed the photos, the emails, the screenshots, and the timeline I had written in the hotel at 2 in the morning. She did not gasp. She asked precise questions. When did you first notice symptoms? When did he tell his mother? Did he have access to the drawer where you kept the medication? Did you remove any physical items from the house? No, I said. I only photographed them. Good. That one word steadied me more than comfort would have. Laura leaned back. Here's what we are going to do. We are going to file. We are going to request preservation of evidence. We are going to keep communication through counsel. You are not going to argue with him, his mother, his friends, or anyone who calls on his behalf. What if he says I'm lying? He probably will. What if people believe him? Some will. I looked down at my hands. She softened slightly. Lisa, this will not feel clean. People like simple stories. This is not simple. But evidence matters. I nodded. And your healthcare decisions, she added, are yours. Not his. Not mine. Not your father's. Yours. The words landed so gently that I almost cried. A few days later, I went to a private clinic. I will not describe every part of that day because it is not entertainment, and it is not something strangers are owed. What I will say is that the staff treated me with dignity. Dr. Nicole spoke to me like an adult. Kelly, the nurse who stayed with me the longest, asked if I wanted water, a blanket, or silence. I chose silence. For the first time since the test, nobody tried to turn my fear into a lesson. Nobody told me what kind of woman I should be. Nobody used the word family like a chain. I made the decision that allowed me to continue living in my own body without feeling trapped by Ryan's deception. It was not revenge. It was not punishment. It was mine. Afterward, I sat in my car with both hands on the steering wheel and cried until my throat hurt. Then I wiped my face, called Laura, and told her I was ready to move forward. Ryan was served the following week. The divorce filing did not read like a private sadness. It read like a timeline. Dates. Messages. Photographs. Evidence. Requests for preservation. Allegations supported by what we had. Laura was careful. She did not write like someone trying to create gossip. She wrote like someone building a record. Ryan reacted exactly how she said he would. He denied it. Then he minimized it. Then he accused me of exaggerating. When he realized the emails existed, he tried to reframe everything as a misguided attempt to save the marriage. That phrase appeared in one of his written responses. Save the marriage. Ryan had not tried to save a marriage. He had tried to redesign one person inside it. Because of his work, the filing created problems he could not control. Ryan handled other people's money. His reputation depended on judgment, honesty, and trust. Once legal counsel became involved and the allegations were documented, his firm had questions. I did not call his employer. I did not post online. I did not send screenshots to clients. I let the process work. That was enough. Ryan called Amy from a blocked number one afternoon, trying to find out where I was staying. She hung up and told me immediately. Laura added it to the file. Karen sent me a long email titled, "Please think before you ruin everyone." I did not respond. My father sent shorter messages now. Are you safe? Do you need anything? I answered those, but not quickly. Something between us had shifted, and I did not know if it would ever shift back. The major hearing happened in a plain courtroom that smelled faintly of paper and old carpet. Ryan wore a navy suit. I knew that suit. I had picked it up from the dry cleaner more than once. He looked tired. Not destroyed. Not monstrous. Just tired in a way that almost made him look sympathetic if you didn't know why we were there. When he saw me, his face changed. For 1 second, I saw anger. Then he arranged his expression into sadness. Laura noticed. "Don't look at him," she murmured. I looked straight ahead. Ryan's attorney tried to frame the situation as a marital breakdown fueled by stress and misunderstanding. Laura responded with a timeline. She did not exaggerate. She did not need to. When she presented the messages Ryan had sent after I left, the room seemed to shrink around me. I only wanted us to have a real chance. You kept delaying our life. I thought once it happened, you would understand. Hearing those words read aloud was worse than reading them alone in the hotel room. Ryan stared at the table. For the first time, he looked embarrassed. Not sorry. Embarrassed. That difference mattered. The judge did not make a sweeping speech. Real life rarely gives you that kind of scene. But the temporary orders were clear. Ryan was not to contact me directly. He was ordered to preserve devices and documents related to the case. Financial restraints were put in place, so he could not move money around while the divorce proceeded. Outside the courtroom, Karen waited in the hallway. She looked at me like I had personally set fire to her life. "You must be proud," she said. I stopped walking. Laura touched my arm, a warning. I looked at Karen and said, "I'm not proud. I'm free." Then I walked away. The fallout did not happen all at once. I think people expect consequences to fall like a hammer. In reality, they arrived in pieces. Ryan's firm placed him on leave first. Then clients started asking questions. Then Scott, one of the senior people there, was copied on an email thread that made it clear the company considered Ryan a risk they could not ignore. A month later, Ryan was no longer listed on the firm's website. I found out from Amy, who sent me a message that said only "I heard." "Are you okay?" I didn't know how to answer. Part of me felt relief. Part of me felt nothing. Part of me hated that even his consequences still took up space in my life. The house went on the market. I walked through it once with Laura's assistant to collect a few remaining things. The rooms looked smaller without our routines inside them. In the bedroom, the nightstand was empty. I stood there longer than I meant to. Buddy sniffed the hallway, then looked back at me like he was ready to leave. "Yeah," I whispered. "Me too." My new apartment was smaller than the house, and the first night there, every sound woke me. The refrigerator clicked. A car passed outside. Someone upstairs dropped something heavy. I kept expecting Ryan's key in the door. He did not have one. That fact was simple, but it took weeks for my body to believe it. I bought a cheap coffee table. I hung one framed print in the living room. Buddy claimed the rug by the window. Slowly, the apartment stopped feeling temporary. My father came by after almost 2 months. He stood in the doorway holding a paper bag of groceries like a peace offering. "I brought soup," he said. I stepped aside. The visit was awkward at first. He commented on the apartment. He petted Buddy. He opened cabinets looking for bowls because that was easier than looking at me. Finally, he sat at the small kitchen table and said, "I failed you." I didn't answer right away. He looked older than he had the last time I saw him. "I thought I was being careful," he said. "I thought I was trying to keep you from making decisions while hurt. But I should have said one thing first, and I didn't." "What?" "That you had every right to leave." My throat tightened. "I needed you to say that." "I know." We sat in silence for a while. It did not fix everything. Real apologies rarely do. But it opened a door I thought had been sealed shut. Karen never apologized. Ryan never truly did either. Through lawyers, he expressed regret for the pain caused by the breakdown of trust. Laura read that line aloud and looked at me over the page. "Do you want to respond?" "No." "Good." I kept waiting for some final moment where I would feel like the story was over. It didn't come. The divorce kept moving. The legal bills kept arriving. Friends divided themselves quietly, which hurt more than dramatic betrayal would have. Some people believed me. Some people believed a softer version where Ryan was desperate, I was cold, and the truth lived somewhere comfortably in the middle. That was the version people liked best. It asked nothing from them. Every once in a while, someone found a way to message me from a new account. They called me cruel. They said I should have handled it privately. They said marriage meant forgiveness. They said Ryan made one mistake. One mistake. As if one mistake could explain the calendar, the pouch, the messages, and the months of planning. I stopped replying to anyone who needed me to make the story smaller. The hardest part was not losing Ryan. The hardest part was losing the version of my life where I believed my own home was safe. Where I believed love meant being known, not studied. Where I believed the person sleeping beside me would never use my trust as a tool. At 9 o'clock every night, I still notice the time. Sometimes I'm washing a dish or reading on the couch, and the clock changes. My chest tightens before I can stop it. Buddy lifts his head like he senses the shift in me. Then the moment passes. Only my apartment, my breathing, and the quiet proof that I got myself out. Ryan wanted me to wake up inside a life I had never chosen and call it fate. He wanted everyone to believe he had been loving and traditional, when what he really wanted was control with a softer name. I did sign papers. Divorce papers. Legal statements. Documents that protected me instead of trapping me. Maybe some people will always think I was ruthless for refusing to keep his secret. Maybe they'll say I should have protected his future, his career, his family name, his feelings. But nobody in that house protected mine. So I did.